our International Street Food Series. This is our fantastic instructor, Angie Ness, and she is going to show us how to make some really delicious food tonight. You may know them as potstickers or dumplings. They are gyoza, and we are going to show you how to make them. If you need anything, have any questions, comments, whatever, feel free to take yourself off mute or type in the chat box, however you feel comfortable. We all want to have fun here.
Yep. Or you can do it at the end of the class, and then we can do a lot more thorough answering for you.
Yep, whatever works for everybody. Anyway, I know you are not here to see me, so I will step out of the way. I am here for tech support. But anyway, here's Angie. Let's make some food. Yay!
Hi there. So I'm Angie Ness, and this is a couple of series already that I've been doing the international cooking class. I think for the first of the year, I did the sushi, and then the fortune cookies. And everything is made from scratch, so that's kind of my thing. With the homemade gyoza, we are doing the actual wrappers too from scratch. I know it's a lot of, it's hard to find these kinds of wrappers, also called gyoza skins. And they have wonton wrappers at the local grocery store. They're completely different. You can use them as well, but with the ingredients, with the gyoza skins, they're only flour, a pinch of salt, and water. That's pretty much it. With wonton wrappers, there's eggs usually included in that. So it's better for frying and also for soups and things, but you can also put gyoza in soups or steam it. And what we're gonna do today, we're gonna be making the wrappers, so homemade wrappers. I'm gonna show you how to do that, and it's basically stuff that you can get out of your pantry. All-purpose flour, pinch of salt, and hot water. And that's how you make the gyoza wrapper, or the skin is what they would call it. Also, it could be pot sticker is what the Chinese would call it, pot sticker, and gyoza is more Japanese. They kind of vary in whatever, depending on what you put into them. All delicious. So let's go over the ingredients. If you have your printout, that's great. We can go talk about that. So for the wrappers, we're going to start that, and it's only 2.5 cups all-purpose flour and 2/3 cups hot tap water, and a pinch of salt. I didn't really put how much salt. Really, the salt isn't really that necessary either. I've done it without. There's going to be a lot of soy sauce in this, so if you're cutting down your sodium, we're going to be doing, alternative here. You can not put the salt, and we can also use low sodium soy sauce. But for class, we'll just go by the list here. And now, more or less water, depending on the flour. Like at home, I make this with all-purpose flour, all just white, unbleached. Here, it's what they have is the golden white, which is it's a little bit heavier. So you will have a little bit more. You'll need a little bit more water to make that mix, and also it's a little bit heavier, but not much. So we can get started on that one. So we'll do the wrappers first, and then we'll let that rest, and then we'll go to the filling. We'll just jump right into this whole thing. Is anybody doing this with me, or you're just gonna watch first? Anybody? That's good. Watch it first, then get used to it. See my mistakes, then learn from that. Okay, so 2.5. I'm not weighing this or anything. It's pretty forgiving. Like I said, though, this does depend on your type of flour. Today, I pre-made some wrappers already, and I know that this flour is a little bit heavier. So instead of 2/3, I almost went a cup. And we're gonna put a little bit of salt and pinch, much. I'm just going to do this by hand, but if you guys have a food processor or a one with a paddle, a hook, bread hook. I'm just gonna do this by hand and then just mix it up. Now, I know you're probably thinking there's not a lot of water there for that much flour. Actually, for gyoza, you don't want it too wet. That's the key about not having the flour. You actually want it to be a little bit more dry because this is going to be steamed as well. You don't want too much liquids. And that goes with the same with your filling. You don't want too much liquids in it. We'll go over that too. So now it's kind of, you want the hot water too to really get that flour incorporated in there. So you're just going slow. This would go faster if we had a food processor, I'm sure, but that's okay. We'll just do it by hand. And you could do it on the, once you get it all mixed in here, then we'll put it on the table and knead it. You may ask sometimes too, can this be gluten-free? Of course. The thing about gyoza wrappers is it doesn't need to rise, doesn't need all of that gluten type of ingredients that you need for a rice kind of dough. So you can use, they make the gluten-free flour here. They have that in their bins, so you can play around with that one. And that, you know, just go ahead and use the same formula of water, and then you can just kind of feel for how much water it needs, a little bit more or less. You can also use rice flour, a combination of rice flour and tapioca starch, and some xanthan gum. I've seen it online too, so you can look it up online. Now, if you didn't want the xanthan gum, you can use chia seeds. Kind of, I think it's more of a binder, since the gluten-free flours don't have anything binding them, opposed to regular flour. So we're just going to knead this. And it may feel dry, that's fine. It's going to soften up when we let it rest for about 15 minutes. So you just kind of go like this and make a ball. And it's a little rougher, but like I said, you just giving it time lets all of these autolays, it's like just letting it rest and let all the flour do its thing. So I'm just going to make that into a little ball. And I'm just going to put it in a Ziploc bag or saran wrap. You can use this the next day or put it in the fridge if you were going to do that, if you're not ready to use it right away. But I think fresh gyoza wrapper is so much more superior than having it sit in the fridge for too long. So you don't want too much air, but you want it to just kind of rest. And so I'm going to just put this off to the side. While that is resting, we're going to make our filling. And we'll go over the ingredients on the filling too. So if you got your paper here from Harmony, let's go to the filling part. So let's go over that real quick. So now we got the dough, it's resting. If you were going to make a ton of these, so the ingredients for 2.5 cups of flour is about 30 to 35 wrappers. Now that all depends on how big you make them and how thick you make them. So I've had people make them and they were about, say, 24, really not much, but theirs were thicker and heavier, and also their circles were rounder. I was playing around with the circles on, you know, the sizes of for the gyoza wrapper, like doing it this way with a measuring cup, and that was a little bit too small. So the smaller you make it, the more filling you're gonna use up, and also a lot more time. It's gonna be good too, but like I said, this is a labor of love. There's a lot of a lot of labor into this if you're gonna make your own wrapper. But if you buy it at the grocery store, you cut your time in half, and it is super simple to put together once you you have the wrapper and you just put all the ingredients together, and it's pretty much raw ingredients. You just put it all together and then you cook it. So I ended up with a mason jar, a wide mouth mason jar, lid or cap, and you got to work really hard on it because it doesn't have the edges. We'll go over that. So let's go to the filling now. We have the traditional gyoza pork, ground pork, and cabbage is the traditional filling for that combination. I went ahead and did kale. We got these beautiful kale here. I like the kale. It's got a lot more green foliage and a lot more minerals and vitamins, obviously, than cabbage. And also, it's got that crunchiness to it as well. And so we need to just put that together. So here's my ground beef. You know, dump all that in there in the bowl. Now this is a pound, 16 ounces. Now if you wanted to not use any meat, first of all, if you do want meat, you can use ground chicken, ground turkey. Ground beef is a little bit stronger of a flavor for this. That's why ground pork is such a good meat for this, because it really soaks up all the spices. But you can use those other ones too, like I said, something mild, a mild meat, ground. Now, if you don't want to use beef, you can use firm tofu. Now, with the firm tofu, make sure you take the water off. You put the plate on top of there and let it soak. And what that does do is that it really releases all of the liquids. This is going to be, it needs to be really super dry of a filling. If you have it way too wet, it's just going to explode. I've had that happen. It's not a pretty thing. Because once you put it in water, it's just, the steam is just so intense that it will break. So you got to make sure your ingredients are dry. Tomatoes are not going to be really good in this. Anything wet like that. So we're going to go with the kale. So I got my pork here. You can also use mushrooms if you want to do a lot of mushrooms. To make it into an equivalent equation for the filling and the wrappers, you may want to do 2 cups of kale and then another 2 cups of mushrooms or tofu. You can use tempeh too. So this was this is this type of dinosaur kale. I like using this because it's got a lot more green to it. And then we have our green onions, including the white part. Now, with all of this, you really wanted to chop it fine. See how this is really fine, because you don't want anything sticking out too much, or you want it to make it into a little ball almost. This is really finely chopped as well. Okay. And then we have our garlic. Just 1 garlic and 1 little knob of ginger, finely chopped again. Put all that in there. Now we're going to put all of our, so that's really much all you have for greenery and meat in there. Now the rest is just the seasoning. So we have our sesame oil or toasted sesame. I like the toasted sesame, it gives it a little bit more flavor to it. So that's 1 teaspoon. And 1 tablespoon of soy sauce. Like I said, you don't want too much wetness to this. And you're going to be dipping this to a sauce that's still got soy sauce and rice vinegar. And so you're doubling the flavors, but you can also eat it by itself. And it's really going to be delicious. So you got that in there. Salt and pepper, just a little bit. All right, so the rest of this is going to be the dipping sauce on your Harmony sheet. So once you get this put together, we're just going to, actually I'm just going to use my hand. This is kind of, let me see here. So right now I'm just mixing it all together. You may find too, if you are going to do anything with just vegetables, you may want to put an egg. I know that's not really vegan, but the egg makes it bind some more. I've done it with shrimp as well, and that's nice. The meats and the shrimps, and I've done it with tofu as well, and that kind of firms up a little bit too, and really binds up. So you want it really mixed and incorporated in there. Yeah, using your hand is the way to go. It's a little messy, but that's okay. That's what cooking is about. Okay. So yeah, you just make sure all your gingers and garlics in there. Okay. So that was about 15 minutes there. So our dough should be rested. And like I said, if you're not going to use it right away, put it in the fridge and then let it sit in room temperature for about 15 minutes to just let it rest. Okay. Just going to rinse my hands. Okay, back. Okay, let's work on the dough. So now I just got this, and I'm just gonna let it sit over here. And like I said, if you're gonna waste a little bit of time or gotta do something else, put it in the fridge. It's me. So, all right. So here's my dough. Now you're gonna use a lot of flour for sprinkling this. The gyoza, if you're familiar with gyoza, they are very thin. So here's a couple of wrappers I did already, and you really got to put a lot of flour just for them to sit. So here's what I've done already, very thin. So we'll go ahead and make some of that. Make sure your counter is nice and clean here, your prep station. So this feels good. It doesn't feel too wet. It feels pliable. So I'm just gonna cut this in half. And then I'm gonna cut it in quarters here. And now I'm gonna put the rest back in the bag so it doesn't get dried out. Oh, starting to rattle here. Okay, so just make a little log here. Okay. So about, I don't know, 5 inches here, and make sure it's nice and even. I know it starts to point at the ends here when you do roll it like that. Just kind of tuck it there, and then make sure it's nice and even. So then you get your cutter again, cut that in half, this in half again. So you end up with 8. Now, this seems a little bit thicker. It seems like it's going to be thick, but or small if you're not familiar with this yet. Now, I have 8 pieces here. I'm going to just take one, put the rest in my bag so it doesn't dry out. And lots of flour. You're working with a small amount of flour or dough here. So just kind of pinch it down like that, press it down to make a circle. And you get your rolling pin. I got a little mini one here. Lots of flour, it's gonna start sticking. And it's okay, because you don't really want it like wet, like I said. So drier is so much better. And if you really need to put a lot more flour, go ahead and do that. So right now, this is getting a little bit big. That's not my gyoza size yet. But I just want it thin enough. Now I got my mason jar. Remember we talked about now if you have a size like this, a cookie cutter, it's a really big cookie, but use a mason jar, or if you don't have anything, a lid of some, like a mayonnaise lid, anything like that. I went around the house trying to find something. The idea is to have a size big enough for your palm. That's kind of the trick, is a size that's pretty big for your palm, because you're going to be working with your hands a lot on this. Okay, so it's pretty thin. If you can get it thinner, if you have one of those pasta those pasta rollers, you can use that, and then just cut out your circles here. And now this doesn't have an edge to it like cutters normally do, so you got to work a little bit. Okay, so here's the wrapper, really, really thin. And it's a lot of time-consuming job here. You know, you could, like I said, cut this in half if you buy some. A lot of people do buy it, because they'll make hundreds of these. All right, so now if you're gonna stack it all together, you could either cut out a tiny little parchment or just flour it a lot. Because you're gonna be stacking this, there's gonna be a lot of it. I've already made, I think, 8 or 12 here, maybe 10, 12. And they do dry out pretty fast. So you'll need to cover it with a wet, damp towel at least. So here's that one. We'll do another one. Now you have all these extra ones. You could put that back in here and work on it later on. And this is something that you can do with, this is when a friend or a family member comes in handy. You know, you could just kind of kill time and make dough. It's a kind of a Chinese tradition to make hundreds of these during Chinese New Year or any festivals. I remember when I was in California, I would just go with a friend of mine who's having a party, and it's like a get-together. We just make gyozas, hundreds of them. You don't have to cook the gyozas right away. That's another thing about them. You've seen them, you could buy them at the store frozen. That's exactly what you can do with these two. If you're gonna put this much time and effort into it, you know, you might as well do a bunch at one time, especially if you got help. All right, so here's another one that I'm making. Now there's different ways to do this. You can actually just roll a big giant piece and then cut your circle. That's another way to do that. Just make a big giant one and then boom, 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 cut it all. Or you can do, I'm not really that good at it, but some people are really good at making perfect circles individually, and that is so much work, but I've done it before because I had to try all of it. So you just kind of make a ball here and then pinch it down, press it down. You got to start with a perfect round ball before you even start. And then you just kind of turn it, turn it, turn it, turn it. It's kind of therapeutic, you know, doing this. I like doing this on my own, and just kind of gets me in that zone. So you really want to do a perfect circle. If you don't do a perfect circle, it's going to be hard to seal and do all your pretty pleats and decorative seal and everything. So you'll see when we start putting it together. So that didn't turn out so pretty. So I'm just gonna cut it with a cutter. then it's gonna be nice and round. Yeah, if you had one of those pasta deal, you can go through this pretty quickly. All right, so I'm just gonna do that. All right, so I got a stack here right now, and 1, 2, 3. This one's a little thick. You can kind of feel all that, but they're all consistent size. I had my husband help me with this one time, and he was so mad at me because some of them were just so different sizes, and he couldn't make his pretty little, pleats on there. And like I said, you will want it nice and round. Okay, so I'm just trying to make sure they don't, I've done that too, where I let it sit too long and they got so stuck together and it was ruined. I had to redo the whole entire thing, which was, it's like, don't get skimpy on your flour, flour it. Okay, so let's get that filled. Because what I want to do is I want to show you a little bit more on the pleats, because that's kind of the important part. Anybody have questions so far on the dough making the gyoza skins? Nope. Okay.
So Q&A.
Oh, okay.
Thanks for talking about the gluten-free option. I was going to ask that. All right.
Yes.
Yes.
I'm getting to know about everybody now, because the other classes that I've been teaching, everybody asks about alternatives, and there's always alternatives. There is, like I said, I haven't used that gluten-free flour there at the one they have here in the bin, but I could tell that it's going to be a little bit heavier flour. So the rice flour and the tapioca starch and the xanthan gum is going to be lighter, opposed to the pre-mixed one here. So I recommend doing that, and I know online there's the recipe for how much you need for making the dough. But right now, yeah, that's kind of the alternative. So there is a way, because it's not you don't have to race it or anything, or let it rise. All right, we'll go back to our filling here. All right, so I'm gonna have, this is gonna be a little bit technical, so if you can't see anything, let me know, and I'll try to get, do a little bit more close-up as much as I can. All right, 1 second. You'll need some parchment paper to put your gyoza on when you're done, so it doesn't get sticky together. That's okay. There we go. Okay. I'm just going to set it here on the table. You can use the cookie sheet and just set them down that way. All right. So you got your gyoza wrapper. So this one here is like right on my palm, size of my palm here. It's more manageable that way once you start sealing them. And you will need some water. Hold on. All right. So I got some water here just so I could seal the ends, the edges. And I'm going to need 1 tablespoon to use as my measurement for the meat. Oh, I can get this out. Anyway, I'm just gonna use that. Yeah, take that or any one of those tablespoons. All right, so you want the gyoza wrapper on your dominant palm, your dominant hand. Well, actually not dominant, excuse me. The like my right hand is my dominant. And so I'm just gonna get a tablespoon here. And it's, you don't have to make it too full. Depending on the size of your wrapper, 1 tablespoon might be too much, and maybe 1 teaspoon would be better. Can you get the 1 teaspoon? We'll play around again. So nice and tucked in there. Now you're gonna be using a lot of your palm here to help you with wrapping this. And so I'm gonna dip my finger into the water and just seal the edge here. If you can't see this, just let me know. Then you're gonna pinch the middle part. So you, with this hand, you just make a little taco, okay? And with that, you just kind of hold it with your thumb, and you still, you know, make sure you still got enough water in there and everything's tucked in. And then you're just gonna grab, if you can see this, you're making your pleats, and you're grabbing the ends here. Can you see that, Kate, or am I?
Yep, I can see it. Make you up closer.
Okay. So you're pulling this piece of wrapper to that center piece and making pleats like that. So about 3 to 4 pleats, and then you just turn the other side, and then you make another pleat, and then another pleat, and then you just kind of tuck them all in there, and then just squeeze the rest of it. And so now you kind of have this half moon looking gyoza. You make sure you seal this at the end here. Press it down nicely, or else it'll just leak. Everything will leak, and you'll just have a mess. So now you have this pleats on there, and you kind of just set it down on the table to kind of press it down like that. And it's almost a crescent shape. You see all that?
It's not as good as
Yeah.
the laptop cameras.
Okay. So we'll make a couple more of those. And so, so now 1 teaspoon is a little too small, but a big tablespoon is a little too much. So we're just going to go ahead and do half of the teaspoon here. You're going to have to, like I said, it all depends on how big your wrappers are. And this is a lot of labor, but once you start doing it, it'll go by really fast. And plus, if you have the wontons already pre-made, that'll really cut your time, because all you did was mix this. So I'm gonna, I'll show you another way of doing it too. That's not so fancy like that with the pleat. So here we go. We're gonna just do this again. We're gonna seal the edge with water here, and we're still gonna pinch it in the middle. See, this one has a little bit too much filling. Now I'm just gonna push this in, just like that, and like that. Now I have way too much in there. And in, and pinch, and pinch. So now you kind of made a little square-like thing like that. Now, like I said, just make sure you pinch these edges really good. So now online, there's so many different ways of making these little pretty packages. The idea is you're going to be steaming it. We're going to pan fry it, steam it, and pan fry it again. So you need that bottom to brown. So you need a bottom of some sort. So this one is kind of an eye shape like that. And if you think that your wrapper is getting a little bit too dry, just put some more water on it or cover it. All right, so I'm making another one here. I'm gonna make another design just to see which one you guys like best or easiest. I think that one with the pleats is a little bit harder. Maybe that's more advanced. But if you do 100 of these, you'll get it down. So I kind of like, this is a little bit too much. We'll do, we'll just go to do the basic. We'll do the pinch it in the middle. Always kind of, that one is always the king. The trick is just pinch it in the middle first. So then you kind of have a basis for everything. That's the easiest way is, and then you got the opening. Pinch that in there and pinch the two edges. You got the two there, and then you pinch these two. So now you got that shape again. And Kate can help me on this if you want.
All right.
So doing this with another person really helps out. So take we'll see what Kate can do for us. So take your
wrapper,
and I'll give you this one. You don't have to fill it the whole way. So with this, if you're gonna make a ton, you can actually freeze it. Once you make the wrappers and you made it into your little form, separate it on a tray, like a cookie tray, and you could freeze that. You have to separate it so they don't stick together, and having a parchment paper underneath too will help. So here's the burrito, and I'm gonna do a crescent, or I'm gonna do the pleats.
I'm not trying the pleats.
Yeah, it's a little bit harder. Go online if you really want to try to do this. It's really, once you get it, your fingers will probably know it.
It is.
She made that one because it's a little bit easier.
A little sad, but it's not terrible. It'll taste great.
Yes. And so here's the one I just made. So we'll make a couple of these until we get it, till we have enough. So so you can kind of see how little they are. I've made them bigger, and I like them bigger as well because it's a little bit less work, and also I can eat a lot more. My husband and I, for the two of us, we can probably eat 8 of these each, the bigger ones, or 10 of the little ones. So I like to try to make at least 16 at a time, and then the rest I would put away. Then I would have something for a meal at another time if I wanted to have some, feel like craving for gyoza. And so so it's all practice. This is all technical stuff because we're doing it all from scratch. The gyoza wrapper will feel a little different from store-bought. As just like anything, it will be different. It'll taste good too. See, I'm just gonna do my basic. I'm just gonna start and pinch the middle part here. So if you're in a hurry and you want to just do the basic, doing this I call it letter I, because it kind of has that eye shape or something. The key is to really pinch it because that will explode if you don't, or leak. I've had it explode, so that's what I call it. There is another way too. Let's try another one. I'll do. Yeah, this is kind of a teamwork if you really want to do it. it took me about 2 hours to do this by myself.
Pretty fun.
Because of the wrapper, that really takes a long time to do. Other than that, if you don't have if you have a wrapper made already, it cuts the time in half. All right, so this one is going to be like a little bundle. See how I just kind of took it and made a ball and just kind of pinched it all together. What a lot of people do is they'll get a scallion or a chive or green onion, take a little piece of it off like that, and then, you know, tie it around. It gets really fancy, really fancy. I can't do it right now because my chives or my green onions are a little too thick. But if you had chives, you can make little ribbon around it and tie it in a knot. It gets a little fancy. These are kind of like little gift packages. It's what they have. It's usually done at you know, parties and everything. It's not for the tradition. It's not like an everyday thing, but we can make it into an everyday thing because it's so good, and you can do it at home easily. All right, we're gonna do one more here, and that's the last one, and we'll fry it up. So I got my water, and I'll just do one more of those little round ones, so then he won't be by himself. And like I said, the wrapper too, this is a little bit firmer than I'm used to. So I'm just bunching this up into a little ball here. And then you definitely want to pinch that really tight because you don't want any leaks. And then you want the bottom on all of these to be flat because we're going to be frying that. All right, so let's go ahead and turn up the heat here on this. Now you're going to need a lid for sure, and a pan that's got enough space so you can lay your wontons flat on there. And a tight, make sure it's a nice tight fitting lid. So we're just going to heat that up a little bit, and we're just going to use, you're going to need to use neutral pasting flour, oil for this. You can use the toasted sesame, but then you're adding more flavor to it. It's got all of this already, so you just want the canola or vegetable oil. Olive oil is a little bit too flavorful for this, so if you wanted to stick to the neutral stuff. And that's about 2 tablespoons. Doesn't take much. So this is going to be pan fried, steam, and then pan fried. I'm going to move all of this so you can see a little bit more. Try and push this a little closer. I'm going to put all this on a plate. All right, so I'm just going to sit this on here. And you don't want to crowd them either. Okay. Now you got to watch your heat on this. You don't want to burn the bottoms too much. You don't want it to cook too fast on either, because we're talking about raw meat in there. So you want to give it enough time. I usually give this one about 3 minutes. You want to start your timer? Or is there a timer there?
No, start a timer.
Usually I have a timer on my microwave or somewhere, and then just So you want to give it about 3 minutes on the pan frying part, or until it's golden brown on the bottom. But I want to give it that much time just because, like I said, we need to keep this meat cooked. All right. So we'll go ahead in the meantime, while that's kind of cooking right now, we're going to make our dipping sauce. The ingredients on that is right in the same ingredients as the filling. Just the quarter cup soy sauce, quarter cup rice vinegar, 1 teaspoon chili sauce, chili oil or crushed chili. This is all depending on how hot you want it. I know some people have put in chili powder or chili crushed chili flakes into their filling to add more flavor, or you can do it into your dipping sauce. So yeah, there's going to be a lot of time to kind of do other things, clean up the kitchen and whatnot. So you can kind of pick it up and just check on them until they start turning brown. You kind of have, like I said, keep an eye on your burner. I'm not familiar with this burner, so I gotta definitely keep an eye on it. Unlike the one at home, you'll get used to that. All right. So with the dipping sauce, you just want your bowl, and so you can use toasted sesame oil or just regular oil. Soy sauce, you can use either regular soy sauce, Bragg, or low sodium. But those are pretty essential. And then there's the rice vinegar. Sriracha is a nice chili sauce. If you don't have that, you can use chili flakes. Tabasco sauce, maybe, if we really don't have anything and you just kind of want to give it a punch. Or chili powder or anything a little bit spicy like that. All right, so we're just gonna get our mix here.
We have 39 seconds on the timer, just so you know.
Okay. Now, with the dipping sauce, you can actually put this in a mason jar and just put it together, and then just pour how much you want for the dipping, and then put the rest away. You don't want to dip on it, and then reuse it. I mean, I do, but you know, some people might not want to do that if it's a big party or anything. Okay. That. So I'm measuring it, and my bowl's right here. So I got the sesame oil. Oh, our timer's going. So this is not turning brown yet. Maybe I'm gonna need to up my fire here.
Another 3 minutes?
Another 2 minutes. I'll keep an eye on it.
Okay.
All right. So like I said, just keep an eye on that. All right, so we got our vinegar, our soy sauce, and oh, actually, it doesn't need the. It says it doesn't need it, but you can do that. You could put it on here if you want some more. I would just go 1 teaspoon, just to add it on here. And then your chili flakes. We're gonna do the chili flakes because we don't. We have this one too, but I kind of like the colors and kind of the little flakes on here when you pick it up with the gyoza. And then just mix that up. And you can actually put some chives. When it's in season, I love using the chives in my garden. It's smaller than the green onions, so you know you don't need to chop it as little much. So look at that. Starting to turn brown here. I'm gonna get it closer, maybe, huh? I'll just put it right there. So it's turning brown. See that? That's what you want. You want them all to turn brown on the bottom. The middle ones might be a little bit more brown because that's where the heat will be. If your pan is kind of uneven, you can move these things around. So now it's pretty much happy here. Now you're going to need your water. About a quarter, what did it say there? A third of a cup of water. Now this is where it gets really tricky. You'll need your pan as a shield, okay? It's gonna splatter all over. We're gonna have to work quick here. And you don't want to soak it too much, so it's a third of a cup. And then you cut it. Maybe turn the heat now that it's nice and hot. So now it's steaming in there. So it's kind of you do the pan side and you steam it, and then we release all that water again, and then we clean it up with nice heat again and oil if we need it again. But the steaming part is really what it's doing. That's what's cooking the actual gyoza wrapper, opposed to when you were frying the bottom part. That was just the bottom part that it was cooking, and the rest wasn't doing anything. So don't touch that for about 3 minutes. What I usually do is maybe about 2 minutes, I'll take a peek at it and see how much water is left. If I don't have enough water in there, that means my heat was way too hot and I didn't give it enough time to cook. So you want to keep an eye on that.
Start at 2 minutes later?
Yeah. So with this gyoza, when you do freeze it, you want to get that frozen gyoza and put it in room temperature before you do this. Because you can do this right away. Excuse me. So I'm just going to check it. So right now, I think my heat was too low again. So the idea now is it's cooking and it's steaming. So you want to keep that lid closed. And you want to make sure you have enough lip for your pan to close it and get all of that steam to do its thing. So we'll let that go, and then we'll prepare so you can either prepare your dipping sauce. While that's happening, wash the dishes, do whatever, clean up. Like I do. This is the thing about virtual classes, real time. Gotta wait a little bit here. All right. So we're just cooking this. Does anybody have any questions? We can do some questions right now while we're waiting.
How would you freeze them?
Oh, hey, and Dan.
Hi, Katie.
What was the question?
How would you freeze it?
Oh, so when you finish doing your folds and your wrapping, you don't cook it, okay? You're going to put it on parchment paper on a tray, like a cookie sheet, and you separate them so they're not going to get stuck together. And then you freeze that. If you don't have a big enough freezer to put a cookie tray, just do half of it at least. But you got to make sure that you got a parchment paper and that they're separated. You want to freeze them that way. Once they're frozen, then you can put them in a bag, a Ziploc bag, seal it, and then you can just pull it out and take as many as you want that time. Once you take it out of the freezer, let it sit in room temperature for about 15 minutes. Just let it rest, and so then you're not putting it in there frozen. And then you do the same process, just like this.
Okay, thank you.
Yep. So I'm going to take the lid off halfway, so I can let the rest of the water evaporate. How many minutes was that?
That was 2 minute timer just went off while you were talking.
Okay. So I'm just going to give it enough time here to let that evaporate. And I can see right now that it kind of doubled the size, because that's what happens with the dough. It kind of doubled in size. That's why you don't want it to have it touching each other. Right now they're a little bit touching each other, so. And you know, you want to do one of these at a time. If you have a big party or something, when you have like 100, you know, on a tray, you may do 2 pans at a time if you have that much time and room and somebody else to help you with that. Otherwise, you just let this right now, let it do its thing, let the water evaporate, and then we're gonna kind of fry it again, pan fry it again. If you need some oil, you'll need to do that again. Right now it looks fine. It's not sticking to each other. I'm able to lift it up. So when you do find out that it's stuck to the pan, okay, that means your dough is a bit too wet, and maybe your filling is too wet. So you'll have to adjust all of that thing, all of those things when you start making a lot more of these. See, all of my dumplings now are all they're all sealed, so nobody's getting, you know, no one's exploding here, so that's a good thing. And yeah, everything looks good. Everything looks well heated and well cooked. And then we'll give that like a couple more minutes.
All right.
Now I can see all the water evaporating. So once you make your gyoza, so they label this as an appetizer. You go to a dim sum restaurant, you get a little bit of this, a little bit of that. You want to serve this as an appetizer at a party, it'll be great. It'll be the hit. Or you can make it into a main dish. I usually just make bigger ones and eat that alone, and that makes me really full. You could serve it with some miso soup. You could serve it with any udon soup kind of meal. Rice, I eat this with steamed rice, with some kimchi maybe. You can actually do a kimchi filling in here too, but you just gotta make sure you're dry, a little bit dry. You have to add more roughage to it to keep that dry. I know some people too would put potato starch, tapioca starch, cornstarch into their beef mix or their ground pork mix, just to get it really drier. I find that unnecessary, really. You really know what kind of ingredients you're gonna put in there. So right now it's starting to dry up. The oils are coming out of the pork. Can you all see this? I think you can a little bit.
Yeah.
So good. Wish you were here.
It's starting to smell really nice in here.
Yeah. So
My favorite. I can't wait.
those are just a couple of the folds that you can do. It's really beautiful to do all the little the crescent ones. Once you start getting the hang of that one, that's always a hit at a party. Is the crescent moon one with the pleats. It's really beautiful.
All right, that was a 2-minute timer.
Okay, so that was our 2-minute timer. And see how it's still nice and brown. And now all my water's gone. I'm just gonna turn this off. Right now all the water's gone, and that's just the oils. And there's just no more reason to keep cooking this one. All of your bottoms are nice and brown. See that? And now putting it on a plate, we can push this back a little bit now. All right. We're just pushing the table back so we can see.
Yeah, counter's on a roller.
So I got my tongs here. Okay, so when you're serving this, just kind of position everything so it's kind of lined up like this on your plate. Then you put your dipping sauce in the middle. This bowl is a little big here. Smaller. You put your dipping sauce in the middle, and all of your wonton or your gyozas in the center and the sides here. So here's your, see that? Kind of, this is what we just did right now.
Beautiful.
There's the little round one. And that really is going to be impressive once you have the green onion tied to it. And here's the crescent one. Remember that one? So that's a really pretty one. Now, I noticed that this is a really much heavier flour than the all-purpose flour. And it needs a little bit more time for steaming too. Now, another thing that people have done to fancy this up is they put turmeric in the dough, so it's yellow. It's beautiful. Then you got these little golden packages, and they really serve that up in traditionally in festivals and everything, and it's like little packages of gold food. So it's a really interesting, fun food to make, and it's really impressive for your friends when they see that you can do something like this. And it's really super simple. And like I said, the only thing that took a long time was making the dough, but you can buy wrappers for that. But if you want to go way out and do it yourself, it's doable. So, and I like doing it because there's times when I'm really craving it, but I don't have wrappers, I just make it. It's a little time consuming, but it's all worth it. So there's your gyoza, and I hope you enjoy this. And if you have any questions,
let's pop up in the Q&A.
Okay.
I noticed the gyoza seem to be brown on the sides and some on the top. Are those being cooked differently or just turned in the pan more?
So when you, sometimes those would be deep fried too. You could deep fry these instead of steaming. They go directly to deep fry. That's why you get that even brownness to it. You can't really turn it because of all the pleats. This is the pan fry, steam, pan fry method. There's a method where you can just steam it in a bamboo steamer or a steamer. It's not going to have the brown bottom, just steam. You can actually just dump this in a soup and it'll cook that way. You can also deep fry it, like I've seen before as well. So I think that's what you're seeing. You think? I think that's what you're seeing. So the browning all around.
Another question in the Q&A. Air fry. Can you air fry this?
Air fry. I've never done it before. I really think you need moisture in this. That's why I kind of like the pan fry, steam, pan fry method, opposed to, and this is the healthier version, I think, than the frying part. Even the steaming part, it's more of a dumpling kind of meal. You want that soft dough. When you bite into it, it's soft and it's warm inside. I think air frying will definitely make it too dry. It'll dry it out, I think. I've never done it, and I think I'm going to stick to the pan frying, steam, and pan frying. And that's, if you're concerned about health-wise, I think that's the method that is healthier. Steaming is healthier too, but it's a different texture. I like the browning part. It's got that crispiness to it. I hope that answers your question.
All right, next one. Thanks for your time and expertise. Learned a lot. I'm excited to try these. Well, thank you for coming, Lisa. All right, I think that was it.
There's a monitor up there, so I'm constantly looking. Sorry about that.
Yeah, and I'm just kind of.
And she's there.
So that's why it looks a little weird.
Yeah. So hopefully you guys enjoyed this and you're gonna get right to it, and you got everything you can ask for here at the store. I don't think they carry the wrapper, so you're gonna have to make it yourself. Good thing you took this class. So now you can enjoy this at home and know what's inside the meal. I know I've gone to buffets and things like that where this has been sitting in a heat lamp forever. So fresh is so much better. So I hope you guys enjoyed it and you will try it sometime and find the information on the sheet there helpful. I encourage you to go online also and dive into some more ingredients, fillings, the wrapping part. You'll have a better video to look at. But thanks for coming over at least and seeing what I'm doing here and get a little bit of an introduction to it. And I think it's doable. It is so delicious. Once we turn this monitor off, we're going to chow down on this.
Honey says, thank you very much. Great fun.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you all for coming, everybody. This was a lot of fun.
All right. We'll see you next time.
Yep, we'll have lots more classes coming up. So thank you for joining us.
All right. Take care. Have a good night.
Have a good night.
Bye-bye, Kate.
Bye.
Bye, Dan. Nice seeing you.
Bye, Aunt.
Love you.
She's from East Coast.
Yep,